Hi everyone. So I just want to say a massive shout out to anyone who's joining or joined or who will join. So this evening is my third podcast. We don't have anyone joining us for tonight's session, but I just kind of wanted to just be with you and be with you on my own. And it's really just through an awareness of a lot of things that's kind of going on just now. And a lot of the energetic shifts that seems to be happening for people, and even myself as well. I've just kind of been experiencing moments where kind of been a bit burnt out. I've been low emotionally. And I wanted to talk you through the art of filling your cup up. And to do that, I wanted to share some information. So for me, the feeling of burnout is like when you wake up first thing in the morning and you've got that, like, not Hollywood dramatic feeling that you can't do anything, but just a low exhaustion. Or like when you're having to go around the house 1,000 times and you're sitting here going, can't I can't do this anymore. So that for me, and when I've reflected on that throughout my life, and especially when I'm kind of touching on the burnout, that was me for years. So tonight I want to talk to everybody through that feeling. But it's not just about burnout, it's about your soul weariness. It's deep in your bone fatigue that makes you question why you're running around so damn hard, but it feels like you're always constantly behind. So what I want you to do is I invite you to grab a tea. I've actually got mine just now. Inspiration on there. So without the storms and rain, life would cease to be. How appropriate is that? So you may want to grab a tea, or you can grab something a little bit stronger. There's no judgment here, but we'll dive in. So for me, what I'm aware of is that we're constantly living in a world full of distractions. And whilst technology is good, we get stuck in that constant loop of distraction. There's also comparisons and endless to-do lists, and it's easy to become absorbed in other people's lives while we're scrolling. I think they call it dead scrolling, or we're watching TV, consuming stuff that is not so good for us. But what I want to ask you is, how often do you invest in yourself? So if you're to actually take what it is that you do in a day and you to look at your energy by way of time, where are you actually spending most of your energy? Now, I appreciate that most of us have got jobs, we've got family, and we've got lots of commitments. That all kind of leads and builds up to a lot of the distress that we feel at times, and that's where we can get stuck because we're not taking the time to address our needs. So I want you to take a moment, and unless you're driving, close your eyes. And I want you to really check in with yourself, like put your hand in your heart and ask, when was the last time that you genuinely checked in with yourself without any distractions whatsoever, without any external noise? When's the last time that you took the time to just be with yourself? Are you listening to your body and emotions, or are you actually suppressing them? And how are you pushing through that? Are you hoping that it'll just sort itself out over time? Or are you actually doing something to address whatever it is that comes up? And then what would happen? What would happen if just for today you stopped trying to hold absolutely everything together and instead just focus on you? So there was an event that happened with me, and in fact it's happened twice, and even today is one of them. And I actually shared with a friend as well that you want to know, as much as what I like to make sure that I'm looking after myself, I'm actively trying to pursue ways to live a healthier, more balanced life. I try to consciously go about my day whilst obviously ticking off all my commitments that I have. I've yet to put myself on my to-do list, but I do consciously try and do that every single day. And I hope it doesn't get to the stage where I need to actually put myself and some me time onto a to-do list, because that's just, I'm at the wrong end of the scale there, and then the balance is off. But I shared with a friend that just for today, I just wanted to sit down on the couch and watch some numbing TV. And I must say, like, the friends on the other end of the screen, he's sitting behind the screen, and I didn't actually get a good movie out of him. But in the end, I actually did end up sitting watching Shrek. And do you want to know the joy in that, right? That's life's little joyous moments, like sitting on the couch with my husband and my son, and we had some snacks, and we just sat and we just enjoyed time together. So filling your cup up is sometimes just some of the most simple things in life. And it's the simple things in life that are free. It's spending time with your family. It also made me aware as well that it was pancake day, and I am really quite shit at making pancakes. I'm good at Victoria sponge, which I promised that I'll get on one. But when it comes to pancakes, I'm no good at that. So Aaron came in and made me aware it was Pancake Tuesday, and I says, you need to phone your gran. But by the time all of this came about, I was absolutely done and exhausted. But then I put in that little bit of effort, and we went down and we visited Gran Teresa, and she had stood there. Like, she suffers as well with like pains in her back and stuff, but God bless her, she made us our pancakes, and they were bloody delicious. But again, that's another way of filling your cup up, because I never really get enough time to spend with all of those people. So just having that wee half hour, 40 minutes, and then surrounding yourself with people that you love, you obviously know that builds you up. There are some other tools and techniques that I want to walk you through. But what I want to do first is I want you to walk you through the kind of emotions, how we can connect with our emotions, and how we can do that in a different way, and how sometimes our perception isn't our reality. And sometimes we can't see the wood for the trees because we get absolutely stuck in where we are at. So sometimes even just changing your physiology can get you out of that icky feeling. But emotions should never be ignored. So I want to look at the perfection trap and the cost of hiding. So there's some work by Dr. Brené Brown, and she focuses on human connection and how shame, vulnerability, and imperfection shapes our relationships. And that's with ourselves and with others. And one of our most powerful teachings is vulnerability. And what she says is that vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. But instead of embracing it, many of us build up walls, wear masks, or play roles that aren't truly ours. And I want to actually ask the question, why do we do that? And where does that come from? And I spoke briefly with Elle on the last session, and it was all around about like imposter syndrome and how we like put this armor up so that people never really truly know who we are. And sometimes we don't even know really who we are ourselves, because we're both the judge, the jury, and the executioner. So we've built up all of these things in our heads that doesn't allow us to actually show up. And as Brené explains, like, vulnerability and being vulnerable and sharing that with people allows people to come into our world, to step into our shoes. And everything's about perceptional positioning. So it's when it comes to two-way communication, how much nicer would it be if you did take the time to explore emotionally where you were, and then you shared that with your loved ones? They could then maybe start to understand So whilst you're filling yourself up and you're actually getting rid of some of this stuff that's causing blockages, you're actually giving someone the privilege, the absolute privilege of really, really getting to know you. So there should be no fear. Fear, the way that I put it, and I've written this in my book as well, for everything a reason. And when we actually go in to explore these things and we look to observe what is going on with us, that gives us the opportunity, and by the way, without any judgment, it gives us the opportunity to get a better understanding. So I talk about in the book the years that I'd spent like searching for external validation, trying to live up to not impossible standards. I wouldn't say it's impossible standards because I have high standards. But I was always telling myself, I was always striving. Once I achieve this, I'll be happy. When I hit my goals, the feeling of fulfillment will be there. But it amazes me because every time you then achieve something, there's something else that you want. So are you ever really content and are you ever really fulfilled? But what I discovered is that I wasn't addressing the real issue. And the real issue is that I was disconnected from myself. So we all do this. We push through the hustle and bustle to try and achieve something, but yet something still feels off. And whilst we're doing that, whilst we're constantly striving, what it's actually doing is it's depleting us emotionally, physically, spiritually, because we're ignoring what it is that we need. So then we move on to exhaustion. So holding it all together, spinning all these plates. And a confession of mine is that I used to use exhaustion and I would wear it as a badge of honour. Because if I wasn't running on adrenaline, anxiety and willpower alone, it felt to me that I wasn't trying enough. So I convinced myself that if I could keep all these plates spinning, and that's through work, relationships, my addiction to personal growth, then one day I'd finally be happy and fulfilled and I would feel like I'm enough. But are we ever really enough? So what was really happening is I was working on my nervous system and it was so fried that even feeling relaxed felt stressful. So it's like trying to meditate when you've got all of these like 1,000 things that you need to get through. You're never really getting into that place, that nice sweet spot when your mind is just constantly racing about the next thing that needs to be done. And in his book, Gabor Mate, who has spent his career studying stress and trauma, he speaks about stress not just as a feeling, but what he does is he speaks and explains about like your body starts to store what the mind forgets. So everything that's ever happened in our lives has an emotional imprint on our body. And it's like, I don't know, it's like how your nana used to kind of push all the plastic bags into a drawer. That's really what's happening with your body. You're kind of pushing everything in and trying to push it and tidy it away when really it's an absolute mess. And I don't know about you, but I've got about, need to say it, I don't want to say 100, I don't think it's 100 plastic bags in the house, but I still go to the shop without them. And it can't just be me that does that. So just like the drawer, sometimes we actually need to clear things out and sometimes we need to start to put things into place. So for me, burnout isn't just about doing too much. It's about not giving yourself enough self-care and space and enough rest. So I just want you to take a breath. So just take a breath with me right now. So I want you to just take a breath in and then a breath out. And then I want you to take another breath in. And another breath out. And another breath in. And another breath out. And what I want to remind everyone here is that, like, there's no such thing as broken. We're not broken. We're not failing. And every one of us has the right to be tired, and that's okay. But we've got to pay attention to what it is that our body's trying to tell us. Do I do that 100% of the time? No, I don't. But the whole point of everything that we're doing here at the Hub is so that we can start to build a bit of a community where we can actually lean on each other and we can share some of this stuff. And that's why we have the brew in the blether sessions. So we had Ellen last Sunday, and we sat and we just had a brew and a blether. And what that does is that gives us an opportunity to be in a safe space to just share what it is that's going on and gain other people's perspectives and support in that way, because obviously through those conversations you're showing up and you're sharing honestly and candidly about what's going on. And even when you do that as well, even just that chat is another way of filling your cup up. Being around about other people and having shared experiences and sharing your experiences is another way of filling your cup up. So as I said, the body remembers what the mind and ourselves try to forget. So Gabor also explains it's like our body's like it's like a storage unit for unresolved emotions. So when we ignore them, they don't disappear. It's like they're renting a room out in our muscles, joints, and our nervous system. So an example of this, and I've had this myself, is a sore neck or back. And it magically appears whenever you're stressed. And it's not just because you're sleeping funny. It's your body's way of saying, hey, maybe you need to stop pretending that you're fine when you're not. So going back to Brené, in one of her books, it's called The Atlas of the Heart, right? So she maps out that there's 87 different human emotions and experiences to help us understand how we feel and why we feel them. So how often, and ask yourself this question, how often are you lumping your emotions into a handful of categories like happy, sad, stressed, angry? Emotions are far more complex than that. So Brené in her book teaches you a way to navigate your own heart so that you're mapping meaningful connections and the language of human experience so that it can help you navigate your emotional world. So that we don't process them and we start to better understand them. So we're not processing them initially, we're just seeking to better understand and widen our breadth of perspective instead of just categorizing it as simply being sad or anxious or frustrated. So how I probably would suggest as a way to start to fill your cup up whenever you're sitting with a fatigue or you're tired, not only do I suggest that you express those with people, but when you actually have these emotions that show up, don't react. Sit with them, feel into them, and then just go through a process of observing them and actually take stock and listen as well. So when you're sitting with your emotion, you're asking, where am I feeling this within the body? Because this is a whole mind-body connection piece. However it is you're feeling, is it in your head? Is it in your heart? Is it around about your stomach area? What is it that's cropping up for you that your body's telling you that you need in that moment? Is it movement? Is it rest? Is it a nap? Is it a hug? And by the way, another massive thing for me, I actually love a hug, and it is really quite interesting, and that's another way of filling your cup up as well. when you're with someone, and that hug that you have when you take that time to be with somebody and be present and just feel into them, it releases endorphins in the body, just that 1 minute hug. And it's quite interesting because I do it quite often. I actually cling on to people to the point that it's a bit uncomfortable for them. You can actually feel them pushing away, but it regulates. It helps regulate, and you find that you start to breathe in sync with the person and stuff like that as well. So that's another beautiful way of filling your cup up. So I guess what I'm trying to say to you as well, when it comes to your emotions and how you're feeling, try not to take that kind of knee-jerk reaction to what's going on. And that's the power also of reflection. And I know that we being humans, there's different emotions come up in different times, but actually taking a moment to just sit with yourself, and when you can, journal and reflect. And there's some people that don't like to write. If you don't like to write, take a voice note, but start to look at some of the patterns that are starting to emerge as well. Is there certain things that are happening at certain times that's maybe triggering how it is that you're feeling? So you can try that as well. And again, I mean, this all comes back to self-knowledge and self-knowing. And it's taking that opportunity to actually just self-regulate. And there's no better knowledge than self-knowledge and being aware of yourself as well. So going back to burnout. So in studying Reiki, Kundalini, Tantra, and metaphysics, so I've learned that what we do is we push through stress, we push through anxiety, we push through emotions. We don't take time to process it. And if you think about your body as a sink, an old sink, right? What happens is that over time, all of this stuff just starts to get stuck and starts to get clogged up. So you've got nowhere and no room within the body for anything that you filled it up with to get out. So that's why energy work is really key in helping you start to, 1, connect with yourself and connect with your body, 2, to start to understand it, and 3, to start to shift it out of the body. So when you think of it in terms of, and I'll laugh here as well, because like chakra, someone has an issue saying that word chakra and doesn't really know what it means. So when we're talking in terms of chakras or meridians, it's really just energy. It's your energetic system, for which we have about 72,000 channels that kind of takes in all this environmental overload, if you like, of information that kind of then gets stored in the 7 main chakras in the body. There's actually 122 chakras in total, but we'll stick to the kind of 7 main chakras. So when it comes to being overworked or screaming for rest, normally that's something that's stored within the root chakra. So a way of clearing that out is just sitting and bringing your awareness to the base of your spine. And a technique that you might want to use is belly breathing. So you might just breathe your way out and then start to ground that energy in. So that's one way of working with your root chakra. So next is a lot of emotional, a lot of like raw emotion or generational emotion. And a lot of people call it trauma, and I'm not going to call it trauma because that triggers some people. So if you think in terms of blocks, you just build these blocks up through your system. But a lot of what we hold on to emotionally, when we're emotionally drained, there's something that's going on in and around your belly area, which is the sacral chakra. And again, another way actually just being present with that is taking the time to be still and just actually work with where is it stored in the body. Am I feeling it? Have I got back pain? Am I feeling it around about my belly? Is there bloatedness? Is there fuzziness? Is there heaviness? How is there feelings? And start to listen and work with that and bring your attention to the area to start to clear that out. And then when it comes to your kind of your power center, if you like, which is around about your mid-abdomen, this is your center for personal power. So when you're feeling like anxiety or not good enough or not worthy enough, again, you're bringing all of this into your kind of head space, but it's something that's actually energetically going on in the body. So again, sitting with that and not listening to the first thing that comes to your mind, but just self-exploring, what is it that goes on? What is it that my body needs in this time and space to help me feel at peace, stable, loved, relaxed? So at an energetic level, that's maybe just some ways that you can start to work through filling your cup up. And then your breath work as well. So in Kundalini practices and Tantra practices as well, there's various different breathing techniques. Some of them might just be breathe in for 4, hold for 4 and out for 4. And that might just be enough to just kind of regulate the system. If you want to feel energized, there's fire breath that you can do, which is in and out the nostrils really, really quickly. You might just need rest. You might just need to stop altogether and just take some time. Or again, there might be something where you need to shift a mood. The environment that you're in might not give you the opportunity to actually rest. So you go out in nature, you go a walk, you reconnect with nature, put music on, like this stuff's for free, get your ass dancing, just shift. There's yoga, there's qigong, there's all of this kind of stuff that we do at the hub, but there's stuff that you can just do in the house. Like literally start to shake things off. So just bounce. And then there's sound, and as I say, music's a great way for just putting on whatever music you want. It might be uplifting music, it might be soothing music, it might be classical music, or you might want to come here and come at one of the sound baths. So that's another way as well for kind of filling your cup up. So if there's anything that I want you to take away, there's maybe just some daily check-ins that you want to do. So you might want to get a journal, or you might want to just ask yourself a voice note on your phone, or leave a voice note on your phone. What is it that I need today? And actually listen. Also give yourself permission to rest. Laugh more. And I'm having an absolute giggle because in one of my moments that I've had, my husband's a great source of joy for me as well. And in one of the moments that I had, I'd actually sat and I was in the bath and I had a towel over my head. And this is me being vulnerable because I'm human too, right? And I had a towel over my head and I just wanted to cry, as us women do, but men do it too, don't lie. But so I was in the bath and then I'd asked him to come upstairs, and he'd known for like maybe a few hours or even a day that there was stuff that was going on with me. But he was patient, he was very, very patient, very compassionate towards me. So I shouted him up to the bathroom and he just sat and talked, and I started bubbling a wee bit. And he says to me that he was really appreciative that I could share with him, which was really, really loving and kind. And then I thought, I need to go out a walk. So I went out a walk and he says to me, Lindsay, and he said, you needed that bath, didn't you? I says, aye. And he says, the only thing that was missing was a toaster. So I absolutely peed myself at that, because that's just how he is. But maybe that's the case. Maybe the next time. I'm only joking. But yeah, just laughter, that joy, laughing out loud. And as I said, moving stagnant energy, being out in the sun. Like I hung washing out today, and do you want to know, see when I bring the washing in, that filled me with joy. I maybe shouldn't have said that on here, because then, yeah, I'll complain about all the washings that I need to do, and then I'm saying that it brings me joy when I bring it inside for being outside. But it's a sign that spring's coming as well, that the mornings are getting lighter. Yeah, get yourself outside. Be around about people. Share what it is that's going on with you. Be vulnerable. Listen to your body. Take the time every day and use your energy as a bank account, if you will, and think about it in that way, and see where you are actually spending all of your time. And out of everything that you do in a day, how much time are you actually spending on yourself? What time are you taking for you to fill your cup up? Because I know that it's only natural for us to want to go out and fill everybody else's cup up. So the last piece of guidance, if you like, that I'm gonna give is to start to be a little bit more selfish and take time for you and put you first. Because when you put you first, the outside kind of takes care of itself. So that's my parting words. And I don't know if there is anyone that's on that might have any questions. Again, I've shared, The Soulful Explorer, Architect to My Soul. That's available on Amazon. For me, that is kind of just a reflection on life, life's journeys. It appreciates the wounds and the wisdom of my ancestral line, and it was ultimately a catalyst for everything that kind of goes on here at the Hub. I've also shared as well, I have got a YouTube channel. If you can subscribe to that, I would be really, really appreciative. And also you can follow us on our socials, which is at Life Force Hub. That's on Instagram and on Facebook. If there's anything that you want to explore, if there's anything that I've not touched on so far, if there's any questions, please feel free to reach out as well. And other than that, I would love to see you guys at the Hub. We're based here in Seafield in Bathgate, and it has its own app, Life Force Hub, which is available on Apple and Android. And you'll be able to find a whole host of great activities that's coming up. There is a few in March. We have got Kundalini activation. This Sunday sold out. We've got another session on the 19th of March. I was actually pure giggling at myself today because I was putting up posts last night and I'd made mistakes on a post like at least 5 times. It was driving me insane. But yeah, it is Wednesday, the 19th of March, that we have Kundalini with frequency healing. And that's at 6 o'clock until 8. I'm still making mistakes. And then on the 22nd, Nicola and Mandy are in for their spring equinox. So that'll be a sound bath outside, hopefully, if it's sunny enough. There's some grounding and meditation. And then Elle and myself are in for a session on self-confidence and self-esteem. And along with that, there's a couple of free gifts. So we're going to work through what we spoke about today, emotions, where they come from, the stories that we tell ourselves, the labels that we give them, the excuses that we give ourselves. Going to walk through a process of reframing that, accepting it or letting it go. And then we're going to do some yoga movements as well to help get stuff that's in the body, out the body. So unless there's any questions, I'll thank you this time for joining me on podcast number 3, and I wish everyone a lovely Thursday, and I'll see you next week. Take care.